So good evening, everyone. My name is Esther Alayande. I'm learning backend. I'm currently a mentee learning backend with iQube.OX. So I'll show you what I've learned so far. Basically, the things I've been able to complete so far in my backend learning journey. So I've learned middleware, and it's like a series of filters that make sure that every request that is sent is safe and readable before the server processes it. So there is a response and request cycle in which the client speaks to the server, and middleware is basically like a security function which makes sure that every request that is sent is safe and readable before what is sent to the server is processed. So, and it takes majorly three arguments: the request, the net response, and also the next. And there are some key functions that are used in the middleware. We have the app.use, which is a command that plugs the middleware into the entire application. And we have Morgan. Morgan is also a tool that helps us in the middleware. And we also have the error handling. So like I said before, the middleware is like a security, and it also has the error handling, which is the safety net. So it catches the error before it is sent to the server, and it also makes the communication between the client and the server seamless. Also, I learned about deploying the application to the internet. So I learned that using platform as a service like Render and also Fly.io for the global hosting. So for this, I was able to practice using Render, and the things I've been learning, I've been able to deploy them to using Render. And it's so easy to use Render because it connects directly to GitHub. And I know we all know what GitHub is. It's an application where you can push your code, pull, and also collaborate with other developers. So that's where the code is majorly based. And Render connects directly to GitHub, which makes it so easy to use Render as an application to deploy the backend to the internet. And also the dynamic port. So ports are like URLs in which the app can automatically find the right path to listen through once it is online. So creating a dynamic port is really important in order not to let the application to crash in production. So I also learned how to create dynamic ports. And also for the environment variables, they are like sensitive information and password that hidden for majorly security. It's really important to keep those passwords and sensitive information safe. So I also learned how to impute the environment variables in the applications instead of deploying them into production. Also, I learned about the monolith approach, unified development, how to deploy your application from backend alone instead of just front end and backend. Although both ways are effective, but it's also good to know how things are done. So I was able to learn the monolith approach to deploy both the front end and the back end. And it's basically done using 4 steps: running the front end build, and also serving the statics file using app.use. Like I said earlier, the middleware uses app.use, which is used to serve the UI and the API into the backend. And also the third is to copy your front end to the backend and deploy. So it's an easy approach, which I learned. And also I learned about debugging Node app. So once the backend is more like the logic part, and it's really, really important to test. I think I spoke about testing the last time I presented, and in this part, I learned about debugging, which is really, really essential in order to find bugs and ensure no issues. So I was able to learn using 2 tools: the VS Code debugger and also the Chrome Dev tools. which I was able to use to learn how to debug NoHap. And also we can use console.logs, but these are actually tools which are built in order for debugging. And I also learned how to save data into using MongoDB. So we also have the database. It's majorly called storage or the memory of an application. So, and it also ensures that the data survives whether the server restarts or crashes. So let's say you have an application, the database is the memory, is the storage that you have. So whether anything happens to the application, you still have your data live and no problem. So I was able to connect using MongoDB and MongoDB Atlas, which is a database as a service to host our application in the cloud. And I also learned about network access, in which you can allow any access from anywhere during the deployment to production. And I also learned about the connection strings. And I also learned about Mongoose, which is a tool also, is an object data modeling library for Node.js. And it helps with validation. So let's say you send in data and it requires a person's name and number. So if a person accidentally imputes a name and not the number, the Mongoose, which is a tool, it helps with validation and abstraction. So in conclusion, in summary, I've been able to learn how to bridge the gap between an idea in development and a live product. And I've been able to apply the middleware for the server transparency, the Mongoose for data integrity and render to make the application live. And moving on, I'll be diving into user authentication, automated testing, in order to make an application not just functional, but professional and secure. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Esther, for that insightful presentation. We have a couple of backend devs here. I don't know if they would have questions for you, which may help.
Oh, all right.
Toluwanimi, do you have questions, please?
Good evening, everyone. Well done, Esther. Okay, I think I'll just ask this question, not really a question anyway. Have you been able to push any of your practice projects to the top?
Yes, I have. I've been able to.
Okay. Maybe we can try exploring adding a little bit of documentation to it, that way to be able to understand how the backend links with the front end, and when you get a role, it will be able to sync up with everything properly.
All right. I will do that.
That's all from my end.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Toluwanimi. Thank you, Esther.